All right, welcome back to ABA Exam Review and the continuation of our RBT Exam Practice series, where we're going through a new set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please subscribe if you have not already. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack and practice exams. As always, when you pass, please let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's keep going. You sit down at your desk, open up a Word document, and prepare to start writing a big term paper that is due in 2 days. When you put your headphones in your ears, however, no music plays. You check and see that they are, in fact, dead and need to be charged. No music playing most likely represents relative to putting headphones in ears. So the question is asking about what? Always start there. What is the question asking about? Especially in behavior questions with a lot of different variables, we have to identify what we're looking at. What we're looking at is the no music playing relative to putting headphones in ears. So let's start by identifying antecedents and consequences. Let's find no music playing. So you sit at the desk, open the document, prepare to start writing. You put your headphone in your ears and then no music plays. What happens right before no music plays? Well, you put headphones in your ears. And typically, right, the headphones would go in your ears, music would play. However, this time it did not. And so what you did was you checked and see that they are in fact dead and need to be charged. So we can look at this in a couple different ways. We could say, all right, you sat down, put your headphones in your ears, and the consequence was no music played. Because this is, in fact, a consequence question. We're looking at either reinforcement, punishment, or extinction. Now remember, for reinforcement and punishment, something must be added or taken away. Extinction is different because something is withheld. There's a big difference between adding, taking away, and withholding. Withholding just means it doesn't occur. So if you sit down and you put your headphones in your ears and no music plays, what's occurring? Well, the reinforcement is being withheld because typically you put your headphones in your ears and you hear music. This time, nothing happens. Your behavior is now on extinction. Why is it not negative reinforcement? Well, negative implies something's being taken away. When we're talking about the no music playing, nothing was taken away or added, it just wasn't there. It was withheld. Same thing with positive punishment. Nothing's being added, nothing's being taken away. It's not positive or negative, it's just on extinction. It's being withheld. Additionally, with reinforcement, so A and D, no music playing is likely not going to continue to encourage you to put dead headphones in your ears because you see they're dead. So it's unlikely that putting headphones in your ears leading to no music playing is going to lead to you putting headphones in your ears in the future. The reason you put headphones in your ears is so that music plays. So music playing is reinforcement for headphones. When no music is playing, that reinforcement is withheld, and now those behaviors are being put on extinction. So no music playing represents extinction relative to putting headphones in ears, because typically you'd put headphones in your ears, you'd be reinforced with music. This time, no music plays, your behavior is on extinction. Clarence is a picky eater. He often refuses to eat food that his parents order him at restaurants. If a behavior analyst develops a plan where the parents bring pre-cooked food to the restaurant for Clarence to eat instead, and parents reinforce Clarence for eating the pre-cooked food, what type of intervention would this likely be? All right, let's look at who we're looking at. We've got Clarence, we've got a behavior analyst, we've got the parents. So what does the behavior analyst want the parents to do? Well, we know Clarence is picky. He doesn't want to eat the food that his parents order him. So the analyst says, well, why don't you bring pre-cooked food to the restaurant for Clarence to eat instead? And when Clarence eats the pre-cooked food, then you reinforce. So instead of refusing the food at the restaurants, he eats the pre-cooked food, and they're going to reinforce for eating the pre-cooked food. In a differential reinforcement question, the first thing you want to ask yourself is, am I teaching a replacement behavior? And in this case, you are. You could even look at this as teaching a replacement behavior to the parents, but we're really looking at Clarence's behavior, right? Because the parents are reinforcing clarence. So we need to focus on clarence here. And when you're teaching a replacement behavior, it must be an alternative or incompatible differential reinforcement procedure. It can't be a DRO, a differential reinforcement of other, because a DRO does not teach a replacement. So that's where you always want to start in a differential reinforcement question. Am I teaching a replacement? Am I not? Since we are, it's got to be DRA or DRI. And since we're looking at clarence here, okay, so the parents are reinforcing clarence for eating the pre-cooked food and not worrying about the refusal to eat the food at the restaurant. So ask yourself, can Clarence refuse to eat the food at the restaurant and eat the pre-cooked food as well? He can. Those are not incompatible. Those are alternative behaviors. This is an alternative to Clarence refusing to eat the food at the restaurants. Even if Clarence refuses to eat the food at the restaurants, he can still eat the pre-cooked food. Those aren't incompatible, they're alternative. Now, differential reinforcement for high rates of behavior is not necessarily one you need to know for the RBT exam, so don't worry about that right now. So again, we're looking at Clarence because his behavior is being reinforced. He's getting an alternative behavior to refusing the food at the restaurant. His parents are cooking him pre-cooked food and reinforcing alternative behaviors, which makes this a DRA. If a behavior plan was designed to decrease how often a learner wets their bed, the analyst, after 2 weeks of intervention, tells you that there was an increasing trend in behavior, what would that mean about the plan? All right, let's think about this. A couple different things here. The question is asking about the plan, and it's hard to say for sure, right? So we're going to have to kind of theorize based on our information. Well, the information says your plan wants to decrease how often the learner wets their bed. The analyst, however, says there's an increasing trend in behavior. So what do we mean by an increasing trend? Well, an increasing trend implies that the behavior is going up, because when a trend increases, things are moving upwards. We don't want an increase in trend because we want to decrease this learner's behavior. So it's bad news if the trend is increasing after 2 weeks. That seriously implies the behavior plan may not be working. So what could that possibly mean about the plan? A, the behavior is improving and the plan might be working. Well, is the behavior improving? Well, no. We want to decrease the behavior. If the trend is going upwards, that means the behavior is likely increasing. There's an increasing trend in behavior. We want to see that behavior decreasing. Same with B, the behavior is improving. The behavior is not improving. It's trending upwards. We need to trend it downwards. So C, the behavior is getting worse. Yes. And the plan may not be working. That is all true. There's an increasing trend in behavior, meaning the behavior is just, it's happening at a higher rate, at a higher frequency, however you want to look at it. Therefore, it's likely the plan may not be working because we're 2 weeks in and that behavior is increasing. So it's likely this plan is not working if we're trying to decrease how often the learner wets their bed. Now we're making that decision based on the information given, right? And you can make that assumption based on the information given. So there is enough information to possibly say that the behavior is getting worse. We know that for sure, and the plan may not be working. Both of those could be true. Maurice needs to monitor how much he eats at each meal. Whenever he goes out to dinner, he identifies items on the menu that are low in sodium and orders those. Low in sodium items are considered what in the scenario relative to ordering? All right, so we're looking at the low in sodium items relative to ordering. So let's find that in our scenario. Maurice needs to monitor how much he eats at each meal. Whenever he goes out to dinner, he identifies items on the menu that are low in sodium. So we have these low in sodium items, and he orders those. So right before ordering, he sees they're low in sodium, meaning the low in sodium items are SD. SDs, because they're signaling to him there's reinforcement available for ordering that item. So low in sodium items are considered SDs in the scenario relative to ordering. Why aren't they MOs? Well, Maurice already wants to monitor how much he eats at each meal. The low in sodium items are not increasing the value of doing that. It's not motivating Maurice to monitor what he's eating. The motivation is already there. What the low in sodium items are doing are one, evoking the behavior, but two, signaling to Maurice reinforcements available for ordering the low in sodium items. Now, that's what the SDs do. They're antecedents, they evoke the behavior, and they signal reinforcements available. They're not prompts because they happen immediately before the ordering. Remember, the prompt happens after the SD. And they're not consequences because they're antecedents. So the low in sodium items are the SDs, which leads to ordering the items because now they signal reinforcement is available. What advantage does a momentary time sampling procedure have over a partial interval and whole interval procedure? So let's think about this. What advantage does a momentary time sampling procedure have over partial interval and whole interval? So we're looking for an advantage, meaning what does the momentary time sampling procedure do better or allow you to do that a partial interval and a whole interval procedure doesn't? A, momentary time sampling is always more accurate. Well, that's just not the case, right? Because all three of these are discontinuous and all three have issues with accuracy because we're taking just a sample of data and aren't necessarily capturing the full picture. So always more accurate just isn't true. B, you do not need to record the entire interval with momentary time sampling. Is that true? Well, let's say we have a 10-second interval. When are you taking data with momentary time sampling? Well, you're taking data at the end of the interval, right? Momentary time sampling occurs at the end of each interval. So if my interval is 10 seconds, the only time I'm worried about is at 10 seconds. So that is an advantage because partial interval and whole interval, especially whole interval, you've really got to watch the entire interval given when that behavior may or may not occur. So that is definitely an advantage. C, interval recordings can only be used for problem behavior. Well, that's definitely not true, right? We can use interval recording for good behavior, bad behavior, a variety of behaviors, right? That's definitely not true. So what is an advantage is that you do not need to record the entire interval with momentary time sampling, meaning you can do other things. It's less resource intensive. It's not saying it's better. It's just saying that's an advantage of the momentary time sampling procedure. Joe is always looking forward to Thursday night because Thursday night is the end of his work week and he gets to watch Thursday night football. If Joe starts looking forward to Thursday night on Sunday, what is the likely reinforcement schedule? Don't overcomplicate this, right? So Joe looks forward to Thursday. Thursday night is his reinforcement. He finally gets to end his work week and watch Thursday night football. So if he starts looking forward to Thursday night on Sunday, when is he going to receive reinforcement? If we look at A and B, they're both ratio schedules, meaning he would receive reinforcement after a certain amount of responses. Does it matter how many times Joe engages in a response here? Well, no, he can't speed up Thursday night. No matter what he does, Thursday night is not going to come any sooner. There's a certain amount of time he has to wait, no matter what, for Thursday night to get there. So what we're looking at really is a fixed interval. Fixed implies it's not changing. Interval implies time. There's a certain amount of time Joe must wait each week before Thursday night comes around. Time in the day and time in the week does not change. It's fixed. Joe has to wait that amount of time each time for Thursday night. Variable would imply that Thursday night happens at a different time each week. It doesn't because there's a fixed amount of time each week that he has to wait. So if Joe starts looking forward to Thursday on Sunday night, he's on a fixed interval schedule. Every week, there's an amount of time that he has to wait to get to Thursday night. Which of the following measurement strategies is most likely to underestimate the rate of behavior? Think about this question, right? Let's analyze it. Underestimating the rate. What do we mean by underestimating the rate? We mean data are going to show that behavior is happening less than it actually is. So what strategy would likely show that behavior is happening less than it actually is? Well, whole interval strategies does what? A whole interval strategy, we look at an interval. The behavior has to occur the entire time to count as a data point. Now, if I have 10 intervals at 10 seconds each, and the behavior happens for 9 seconds each interval, how many data points will we have? Well, 0. And that's going to drastically or dramatically underestimate how often that behavior actually occurred. It's happening a lot, it's just not meeting our measurement criteria. That's a problem. So whole interval is very likely to underestimate. Partial interval, however, is likely to overestimate. And why is that? Well, same idea. If we have 10-second intervals, if that behavior happens for a split second, it counts the same as if it happens for 10 seconds. That's going to overestimate rate. Momentary time sampling and play check, one and the same. Play check is the group version of momentary time sampling. Momentary time sampling and play check can either underestimate or overestimate. The strategy that is most likely to underestimate is A, whole interval. Write it out if that doesn't make sense and think really hard about why that might be. Why would whole interval indicate based on data that behavior is happening less than it actually is? Analyze that for a minute. Okay, it's going to really unlock a lot of good ideas if you can understand this concept. Thanks for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. As always, subscribe if you have not already. Work hard, study hard. We'll see you soon.